So, you've entered the Shin Megami Tensei series at this point. Maybe you've played a game or two, or maybe you're still trying to find that perfect gateway game to the series. However, you're here because you want to know about continuity and timelines. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Atlas does not spoon feed you the Shin Megami Tensei timeline during the course of the games. However, there is one there. In fact, only the most hardcore fans with very keen eyes are going to be able to figure out how exactly the games all fit together without resorting to online research. Now, this is something that really bothers people that are new to the series. I mean, doesn't it kind of seem strange jumping straight into Shin Megami Tensei 4, Persona 4? I mean, what about 1 through 3? Well, I'm here to tell you that most Shin Megami Tensei games can be enjoyed standalone besides for 1 or 2. So, do they all fit together? Yes, they do. It's kind of hard to figure out, though. In fact, the Shin Megami Tensei universe involves crazy ideas in their timeline, including, but not limited to, multiple universes, split timelines, time travel, and good old reincarnation. Yeah, move over, Zelda. Your timeline ain't shit compared to this. Okay, let's get some ground rules out of the way first. Atlas has never confirmed an official timeline. They have said some games are sequels to other games, such as SMT2 to SMT1 or Digital Devil Saga 2 to 1, but aside from that, they kinda left us in the dark. Rule number 2. References and cameos don't necessarily mean continuity. Let's be serious. Atlas is a video game company, and having these cameos are gonna make you want to look into their other games, maybe to purchase them. It's a very efficient marketing tactic. However, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna say that if a character makes a direct appearance in another game, there has to be some type of plot connection between the two. Rule number 3. No matter your stance on whether you classify Persona as an SMT game or not, it's still within the canon. You'll soon understand why when we start to get talking to the actual games and how they're connected to one another. Rule number 4. No matter what timeline theory you believe, there's always going to be plot holes. Let's be serious here. Each SMT is its own individual project with its own writing staff. They might not be necessarily sure that everything fits together within the SMT timeline. And I mean, let's be serious here. I think making a plot accessible and easy to understand is a lot better than just making references left and right to all these other obscure games in this series. Rule number 5, and probably the most important rule of them all, don't take it too seriously. Every Shin Megami Tensei game is supposed to tell its own unique story, and if they all fit together, cool. If they don't, well, too bad, but hey, at least the games are good, right? And if you didn't already get this before you clicked on the video, this timeline is going to contain major spoilers for every Shin Megami Tensei game, so if you're not cool with that, then just click away now. Shin Megami Tensei 1 leads into Shin Megami Tensei 2. This is assuming the Shin Megami Tensei 1 protagonist followed the neutral ending and ignored the Law and Chaos endings. Shin Megami Tensei If, as in What If, is an alternate universe where the nuclear apocalypse from Shin Megami Tensei 1 never happened. This creates a new alternate timeline in the Shin Megami Tensei multiverse. Now, we know Persona 1 takes place after Shin Megami Tensei If, mainly because the main character from Shin Megami Tensei If appears in Persona 1. Shin Megami Tensei If allowed the player to customize their character, including gender and name. However, Persona 1 reveals that the main character from If, who directly references the events of Shin Megami Tensei If, by the way, is actually a female named Tamaki Uchida. Now, to round up the rest of the Persona subseries, the Persona 4 director confirmed in an interview that all Persona games take place within the same universe. This is our timeline thus far. Shin Megami Tensei 1's neutral ending leads into Shin Megami Tensei 2. Now, If is an alternate universe where Shin Megami Tensei 1's nuclear apocalypse never happened, and the rest of the Persona series spins off from that. Easy so far, right? Now, let's move on to the Devil Summoner subseries. In Devil Summoner 1, two characters from Shin Megami Tensei 1, Thor and Goto, who are responsible for unfortunate events in SMT1 are referenced. Both characters are quote-unquote dealt with in this canon, meaning the events of SMT1 never happened in Devil Summoner's timeline. Now, Soul Hackers takes place directly after Devil Summoner 1. It even has some of the same characters, and they even reference the events of the first game. One of the characters from the original Devil Summoner possesses the body of Daisuke Todoroki, a character in Persona 2. Because of this, we can link the Shin Megami Tensei If alternate universe with the two Devil Summoner games. The fact that Devil Summoner 1 provides an explanation to what happens to Thor and Goto in this alternate universe kinda just helps prove the point. Devil Summoner and Soul Hackers most likely take place in between If and Persona 1 due to the lack of Philemon and the Personas in the two Devil Summoner games. It may be important to note that there are two games in between Shin Megami Tensei 1 and Shin Megami Tensei 2. Shin Megami Tensei 9 and Shin Megami Tensei Imagine were two MMOs that take place in between SMT 1 and 2. However, they've never been referenced to by other games, nothing important happens in them, and they're pretty awful. In fact, Shin Megami Tensei 9 never even had its servers put up. It was that bad. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Wait a minute, Rosin, you missed 2 of the Devil Summoner games. Well, I did that on purpose, mainly because these 2 games are what make the timeline so damn confusing. I mean, I hope up until now it was pretty easy to follow, but these games change everything. Now, those of you that know your Shin Megami Tensei know that Raidou is a title, not an actual name of a character. Raidou Kuzunoha the 40th is from the time of SMT2. In fact, the first Raidou game, Raidou vs. the Soulless Army, kicks off when Raidou the 40th time travels from Shin Megami Tensei 2's time to the 1920s, the time of Raidou Kuzunoha the 14th. Now, we do know that every single Devil Summoner game is connected, mainly through Victor, who fuses demons for you in every game. Now, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking right now. So, Shin Megami Tensei 2's timeline is totally averted because of Raidou the 40th's time travel, correct? Well, maybe, maybe not. More on that later. So, is the time travel shenanigans starting to get you confused yet? Oh, don't worry, there's still more to the timeline. Digital Devil Saga 1 leads directly into Digital Devil Saga 2. Satan and the 4 Archangels, who are characters in Shin Megami Tensei 2, appear in Digital Devil Saga 2, and they directly reference the events of Shin Megami Tensei 2, meaning that they're the same characters. Whether this means that they somehow ended up in the universe of Digital Devil Saga, or Digital Devil Saga takes place sometime after Shin Megami Tensei 2 in the same universe, we don't know. However, we do know that these 5 characters do appear in both games. Now, this is everything we canonically know in one image. One last but very important note, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne explains that all Shin Megami Tensei games take place in a large multiverse known as the Amala network. Now let's dive into the magical world of fan theories. Theory number 1. Megami Tensei leads into Megami Tensei 2. The main character of Megami Tensei 1 is implied to have frozen Lucifer and create the game which Pazuzu is sealed within in Megami Tensei 2. Personally, I don't see what's wrong with this theory. I mean, with only 2 games in the series at the time, you would think that Namco would want to make them direct sequels, you know? Theory number 2. Shin Megami Tensei 1 is an alternate universe that spins off of Megami Tensei 1. In the PS1 remake of Shin Megami Tensei 1, the SMT main character's dog is stated to be a gift from the main character of Megami Tensei 1. Shin Megami Tensei 1 can't take place in the same universe as Megami Tensei 2, as they tell conflicting stories of how the apocalypse occurred. In my opinion, I don't really believe this one, mainly because it's exclusive to the PS1 remake of Shin Megami Tensei 1. I feel that if the developers of Shin Megami Tensei 1 wanted us to know that it was a spin-off of Megami Tensei 1, that we would have known by now, and that the reference to the main character's dog being a gift would have been in the original game and not just the remake. Theory number 3. Hijiri from Nocturne is Aleph from Shin Megami Tensei 2. At the end of Shin Megami Tensei 2, Yahweh tells Aleph, the main character, that he has committed the ultimate sin. Hijiri and Nocturne are said to be under punishment by Yahweh for having committed the ultimate sin in a past life. The punishment is endless reincarnation in doomed universes, forcing Hijiri to watch multiple apocalypses. This one is really popular, and in all honesty, I also support this theory. The reason I support this theory is because these 2 characters are the only characters in the entire Shin Megami Tensei series as a whole to have said to have committed the ultimate sin. Also, the endless cycle of reincarnation could be an excuse as to why Hijiri remembers nothing of his past life as Aleph. Theory number 4. Nocturne's true demon ending leads into Strange Journey. Mara in Strange Journey references being a slime, which happened in Nocturne. Yahweh is described as quote-unquote in pieces, which points fingers at Nocturne's true demon ending being canon. Personally, I am kind of 50-50 on this one. While Strange Journey's own backstory and plot describes why Yahweh is in pieces, it wouldn't be too out of the question to say that the Demi-Fiend did have a hand in it. Also, if Strange Journey isn't connected to Nocturne, that means it isn't connected to any of the other mainline SMT games, and that just seems really out of place for a mainline game. Theory number 5. Devil Survivor 1 leads into Devil Survivor 2. Black Frost in Devil Survivor 2 references the Black Frost from Devil Survivor 1. While probably just a shout out, some think this means 2 is a sequel to 1. Personally, I don't like this theory at all, mainly because Black Frost is a total comic relief character, and it would not be out of the question for Atlas to throw in a little breaking the fourth wall moment in his dialogue. Something else that's important to talk about is two characters that seem to pop up everywhere else in the Shin Megami Tensei canon. These characters are the Demi-Fiend, the main character of Nocturne, and Raidou from the two Devil Summoner Raidou games. Both Demi-Fiend and Raidou Kuzunoha the 14th have the means to travel to different times and places in the Amala network. The Demi-Fiend appears in Shin Megami Tensei Imagine and Digital Devil Saga 1, while Raidou appears in the Japan-only re-release of Nocturne and in a 3DS remake of Soul Hackers. The reason I wanted to talk about these two specifically is because they both have their own method of traveling through the Amala network, and it is stated within their own games that they come from. So just because these characters appear in other Shin Megami Tensei games doesn't mean that it takes place right after Nocturne or Raidou, because they can travel through the Amala network by their own free will. Now, there are two different theories on the Shin Megami Tensei timeline as a whole, maybe a few more variations of these two, but it basically all comes down to how you feel time travel works in the Shin Megami Tensei universe. I call this one the Raidou split timeline theory. Basically, it starts with Shin Megami Tensei 1, I know this image doesn't properly convey that, but hey, work with me here, which goes to 9, which goes to Imagine, which goes to 2, and around that time, Raidou the 40th goes back to cause the events of the Devil Summoner games. However, this universe still has Digital Devil Saga 1 and Digital Devil Saga 2 happening sometime after SMT2. Now, the Raidou games happen because of Raidou the 40th's time travel shenanigans. So, some people say that because of Devil Summoner 2's 3 different endings, each ending leads to a different branch in the Shin Megami Tensei universe. Some say that one ending leads to the mainline SMT series, or SMT1 and onwards, which also creates a closed endless time loop type effect because of Shin Megami Tensei 2. And then another ending leads into the If alternate universe, which also leads into Devil Summoner games and Persona. And then the third ending leads into Nocturne and quite possibly Strange Journey. This closed time loop idea is something I rather enjoy, mainly because it does give fuel for why there's so many multiple universes in the Shin Megami Tensei timeline. And for those of you wondering, Aleph could have still appear in Nocturne simply because Yahweh is, well, God, and he can simply just teleport Aleph through the Amala network willy-nilly. There are also many fans that believe that in Shin Megami Tensei games, every possible ending is canon, it's just that some endings get led up to by sequels and some don't. This timeline would be the one that those people would believe. I call this one the Raidou reset timeline theory, and this seems to be the second most generally accepted timeline. Basically, it's the belief that SMT1, then 9, then Imagine, then 2 happened, and because of Raidou the 40th's time travel, that entire continuity got erased, and it starts over with Devil Summoner 1, then 2. Another difference from the split timeline is that only one of Devil Summoner 2's endings is said to be canon, and that leads into If and the rest of the Devil Summoner games and the Persona series. This would mean the only artifact of Shin Megami Tensei 2 and that entire continuity's existence would be Satan and the 4 Archangels in the Digital Devil Saga games, and Hijiri possibly being Aleph in Nocturne. So, was that a little too much to handle? Yeah, it's confusing, but hey, I tried. Anyways, I'm not saying that either of these two timelines are what you should believe, or I'm not even saying they're right. Just from heavy research on the internet, these are the two timelines that seem to be generally accepted. To be honest, no one really knows, and hell, at this point, I'm not even sure that Atlas knows. Please keep in mind that this video is coming out 1 month before the release of Shin Megami Tensei 4 in English. It's been out in Japan for a little while now, but plot details are still kind of vague, so we're not entirely sure its place in the timeline. Demonica outfits from Strange Journey do appear in the game though, so more than likely it has some ties to Strange Journey. But that said, we're not entirely sure how it fits in with the rest of the series just yet. So, thanks for watching this, guys. I hope that this video helped you in some form, or maybe, hopefully didn't confuse you that much. But, tune in for part 5, where I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions about the SMT series.